Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Thursday. And Leslie Vitale here, business coach and mentor. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. We are so fortunate to have an opportunity to talk to attorney Lisa Fraley. Hey, Lisa, how are you today?
Hey, Leslie, I'm great. How are you?
I am doing great. Just trying to stay warm, right?
Oh, totally. I mean, snow is coming this weekend, and that's why I'm wearing sweaters up to my eyeballs. Yeah.
Right? I know. I got it. Today is 23 here, and truth be known, it felt like a heat wave. I went for a walk this morning. I'm like, it's really feeling warm
I
compared to
know.
yesterday where it was, negative.
I
So,
get it.
yeah. Anyway, really looking forward to our conversation today. For those of you that don't know Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. Lisa is, I'll just say, one of my favorite people, and she is also my attorney. So, really highly recommend. But let me go ahead and read her bio so that you have an appreciation of her background. So, Lisa Fraley is an attorney, legal coach, speaker, podcast host, and author of Easy Legal Steps, who blends her legal expertise as a former healthcare attorney in a large law firm and the care of a health coach through INN. Wait, did I say that right? IIN to
Yeah.
help FNPs, licensed practitioners, and coaches protect themselves with contracts, disclaimers, trademarks, and DIY legal templates. And we'll be talking a little bit more at the end about those legal templates. So that's a little bit about Lisa. Guys, let me give you, before we jump into our conversation today, let me share a little bit about what we're going to be covering because I think this is a topic that, at least the feedback I've gotten so far, is that this is highly relevant and very timely as well. So, we are going to be talking about how to protect your brand with trademarking and essentially how to keep people from stealing your content, which is so important in this day and age, right? With everything being online. So, a few takeaways that you're going to get from today. You're going to gain an understanding of when, where, and how to start the trademark process. So, Lisa will be sharing some guidelines on that. You're going to learn why a trademark is actually an asset for your business with actual financial value. And you'll learn the key steps in the trademarking process and especially where you should start. So, again, yay, Lisa, so happy to have you today. I always like to start by asking just a little bit about your journey,
Sure.
kind of like a little overview on how you ended up where you are today.
Sure. Well, we all have had quite a varied journey, I'm sure, to get to where we are, and it's not what we thought it would be, right? So when I got out of law school, I got a job in the big, cushy law firm, just like you would think, and just like you're supposed to do. I was a good student, and I got a job in the big firm, and I worked a million bazillion hours, like we all do in corporate America. And actually, didn't even realize at the time I'd sort of found myself living on caffeine and sugar and feeling a little depressed. And so I eventually voluntarily left the law firm, which is like unheard of. And I went and worked with a life coach. And then I became a life coach. And then as my journey continued, I really had always cared about health and wellness, and I needed to get off of the sugar. So I went to health coaching school at IIN, as you mentioned, Leslie, back in 2012.
Mhm.
And what happened was I was going to be a health and wellness coach, and I have a health and wellness business. And then at the same time, all of my health coaching friends were like, but wait a minute. You are actually a health coach who understands the law, and you understand what we need to do to protect ourselves. And we're scared of lawyers, and we don't like the law, and we don't know where to begin. So can you help us? So I sort of pivoted and started Lisa Fraley Legal Coach way back about 10 years ago. to help online entrepreneurs and health coaches and registered dietitians and licensed practitioners really know how to take simple, easy legal steps so that it doesn't have to be scary and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And you can just go one step at a time to protect yourself and your income and your brand by things like trademarking, like we're talking about today. So it was a roundabout journey, Leslie, but I could not be happier. I've help thousands and thousands of people. And I love it every day because it helps people do what they are here to do on the planet. And that's to help people live healthier lives. So it makes me very happy. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's a really great story. Love that. So let's jump in. I know everyone's eager. So let's start by talking about what is a trademark exactly, just so we have our, the vernacular clear.
Lingo, right.
Lingo.
A trademark, and when we say a trademark, we usually mean a registered trademark, which means that you've gone through an application process with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and you have gotten the right, basically, to use a grouping of words or a logo or design for a period of 10 years. Like the government grants you the right to use it and to be presumed as the lawful owner of this particular brand. And one thing that a lot of people don't know about trademarking, though, is that it can only be done for marketing purposes. So in other words, I like to say, like, you can't have a book club with your friends and have a logo that you trademark for your free, fun wine and book club, because it's not a business. It's not selling goods and services. It's not for marketing of a business. So it really has to be for something that you're doing in the marketing space. But you do get this trademark for 10 years. You can renew it and renew it and renew it. And it allows you to have that legal protection for your brand.
Okay, so interesting. So it's just for marketing. So give us an overview of, so we talked a little bit about what you should trademark, right? Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd love to elaborate just a hair, because I think this is the part where it gets confusing for people, because we have so many aspects to our brands, right? We have our business name, we have our program names, maybe you have a tagline for your business or a logo for your business, or maybe you've written a book, or maybe you've come up with a methodology or a concept that you really love, or your 5 steps to do something. And people get confused, like, what about that? What can I trademark of those things? So the easiest way to remember is that you can trademark a group of words, and I kind of use my hands to indicate like a small group of words versus a whole entire book, which is what you would copyright, right? It's a small thing like a program name, a title of your business, a title of your program, a tagline, a logo, but it's things that you use in your marketing so that people recognize you and who you are. So we think of very common brands out in the marketplace that we all know and love, like Starbucks. And the name of Starbucks is usually in green or white. And the logo, which has the mermaid with the green circle around it. Like, we have brand recognition for words and images so that you can build your brand loyalty, you can build your brand identity, you can build your brand recognition in the marketplace. And that actually has value. So the things you can trademark are small words and images, like a logo, for example, but not names of methodologies or names of like my 5 steps to this or that or the other, unless it's a program name or a business name and that kind of thing.
Okay. That's so interesting. I never really had that straight in terms of the difference between, what you copyright and what is trademarked.
Yeah, and just the copyright part is protecting an original work of art, they say. So it's protecting things like a book or a poem or a music or a screenplay, or it can be, software even. But I think of it as being something longer, right? It's like your actual work of art, your words, or it could be a video or an audio or like I said, screenplays or software or things like that. But it's a longer work of art that you have created and you're the original author of, and you want to protect that, saying, I wrote this, I created this. But trademarking, again, is for marketing of goods and services that you're selling in the marketplace. So it's for something for sale in the marketplace related to your business.
Okay, great. That makes sense. So give us kind of an overview of why we should trademark. What are the benefits? Because it's not free. Obviously, it is an investment. So as we're thinking about trademarking, some things, what would the benefits be for us?
Yeah. So when you think about trademarking, the whole reason you want to do it is because if you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating a brand that you love, a business name, a tagline, a program name, something related to something that you're selling in your own business as a good or service that is really you're really passionate about it, you feel like it's completely summarizing your work, it's something that you can make a lot of profit from and it has a lot of potential to use in the future, then you don't want someone to come along and either swipe that brand and copy it or play off of your brand and create something similar. Because when you build up people's perception of your brand in the marketplace, that's creating a brand identity and brand recognition. And there's actually an intangible value, we say in the law, that comes with that called goodwill, which means that if people feel positively about a brand and someone else comes along and tries to copy or take that brand or just tweak it a tiny bit, but not very much, then the argument is that they're sort of piggybacking off of the hard work that this first business owner did to create this popular brand. So that's where we always talk about the fact that if you happen to believe that ideas come from God, the universe, the universal consciousness, collective consciousness, whatever you describe in your own life where you believe ideas come from, what you're allowed to protect is your unique expression of the ideas in your brand, in your logo, in your tagline, business name, program name, etc. So you get to have that as your identity. So the brand identity is really important because you've worked hard to build that goodwill. Also, the brand recognition. You want people in the marketplace to recognize you and your brand. When they see your font and your colors and your logo and the design, you want them to think of you. You don't want them to think of the competitor down the street. You want them to think of you. So the brand recognition is important. And then finally, it also gives you a legal asset that you can sell. So I don't know if you remember watching Shark Tank. They often talk a lot about patents, which is an entirely different part of intellectual property law. But sometimes they'll say, do you have a trademark for that brand name? And that's because if you own your logo or your tagline or something, you can actually sell that as an item, like in and of itself, as an asset for your business, and people can pay money for that because of the goodwill you've built up and the brand recognition you've built up about that. And then of course, having the registered trademark also gives you legal protection to fall back on, to say that you're the rightful owner, that anyone else challenging you has to prove that they created it before you and then they're not copying you. But when you have a registered trademark, you're presumed by the government, by the law, as being the correct and rightful owner of that brand. And that is really beneficial and also saves you time and money from having to defend yourself as much.
Oh, yeah, that sounds really important. So, so I'm just sort of curious. So, you know, how would you prioritize, right? Like, I'm just kind of thinking of
Oh yeah,
assets and even in my own business, and I'm thinking
right.
of, my
Yes.
clients, their businesses. There's so many different options, right?
Yes, totally. So, Leslie, I made this up. Okay. You're not going to find this in any law books or in law school, but I created just called the 3 Ps of trademarking. Okay. The first one is, are you passionate about it? I mean, like you would be heartbroken if you saw someone out there using your brand, like almost like you just feel yourself feeling hurt or violated or someone took something from you. And there are times when people actually can have the same idea and aren't copying each other. Believe it or not, it happens more often than you actually would think. But if it's a brand that's important to you, it's that important to you that you would be emotionally invested in it, that's how you can tell you're passionate about it. The second thing is, does it have a lot of potential? Meaning, are you going to be using it in the future for a long time? Because you can get a trademark for 10 years. That's a long time. So if it's a brand that you're like, meh, I kind of like it, but I might change it in 2 years, don't invest in trademarking. It's not worth it. But if you can already see down the road of your planning, like in your work with Leslie that you might be doing, or you're working in your business, and you can see, I can make huge programs with this. I can make lots of programs using this name or other offshoots. It might be something worth trademarking. And the third P is, will it be connected to making profit? You don't have to be making tons of profit with it now. You can charge $49 for something, or $499 or $4,999 or whatever. It doesn't matter. But it does have to be something that you're going to be connected to selling, right? And if you know that you already have a brand that you're passionate about, that you're going to be using in the future for a long time, and you're already making a lot of money from it, that's where I would start. start with that brand. And for a lot of people, Lesli, it's sort of an overarching brand, like the name of their signature program, or maybe some people have a signature name and then they have other programs underneath it, right? I'm trying to think of an example, but like for some people, I'm just going to make this up, so I'm pulling this out of my ear. Like the New Beautiful You program or something, the New Beautiful You. And so then you might have the 3-month program or the 6-month program or the Jumpstart, or you might have other things that you're selling, but that's an overarching brand. And if you can do a lot with that, that's a really good place to start, because it does have potential passion and profit connected to it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I love that. So yeah, so I wanted to ask you as well. Can you elaborate a little bit on how exactly trademarking, protects your income? I think we're pretty clear on how it protects your brand,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But a little bit more on the income component.
Right. So I added that piece in. I don't talk about trademarking connected to income as much as I talk about it straight connected to brand. But here's the thing. If you really think about it, the whole reason you have a brand is so you can make income, right? The whole reason why you have created a name for your program that is really powerful, or a logo that you really love, or a business name that really describes what you do, is because you want clients to resonate with that, and you want people to be drawn to that, so that they, of course, invest in your programs and services, and that you can help them. You can help them change their life. That's why you're doing what you're doing, from that service-based place, why you're doing the work that you do. So if you're helping people around nutrition and health and wellness and taking care of themselves and trying to make shifts in their lives and coaching them or supporting them as a registered dietitian, or all the things that you do, you really want to be able to have that name connected to your programs and offerings that you sell, be resonant. And so if that name is taken by someone else and used in their program after you've been using it for 3 years or 5 years or something, you may lose some income, because the next person just copied it and took it, and people are now thinking of them, or see all the work you've done in the past and think it's them. So it is connected to your income, because your brand is connected to the goods and services that you sell, which is what you use to make your income.
Okay. So it's connected to my next question, which is you had mentioned Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And, I love that show too. And they asked, I don't
Yeah,
whoever
Kevin is usually the one who asks, but sometimes they all ask. Yeah.
they in terms of financial value. So
Yeah.
can you? I mean, I assume that's what they were getting at, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is the
That's
financial
right.
value of the brand, or whatever it is that they were creating. So
Sure.
how about that? How is it
Yeah.
a financial asset for one's business?
Right. So the reason why they're asking, and as I said, it's true that you most often ask about patents, which have to do with inventions and creations and things like that, which is even more important if you're creating a new product on the market. But they'll also ask about the trademarking piece, because they want to know that you are the one who basically owns the brand name, so that if someone does come along and copies that name, that you again are presumed to be the rightful owner, and that you own the trademark and can prove that you own the trademark, so that it's easier for you to defend your position. And also because you can actually sell that trademark. So, a lot of times in Shark Tank, they create deals that are licensing deals, or they buy businesses and then maybe sell them to another larger company, or whatever the case may be. So they want to be able to often sell either part of it or all of it as like a package, right? So the name is often an important part of that. Sometimes they rebrand and change the name. The sharks will recommend that. But if they really like the name, they want to make sure that you own the name, so that if they sell it to someone else, or they're putting it out in the marketplace in a huge way in retail shops or something, that no one's going to come and copy it. And if they do, then you are the business owner, have recourse to be able to go against them, and you're already presumed to be in the right. The other person's presumed to be in the wrong.
Okay.
And that saves legal costs and fees and time and things like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it really does. Let's talk about website domains.
Oh, sure.
Feeling that this is going to be surprising to some of our audience today. So, most of us assume that if we have a website domain name, that we're good to go. We don't have to trademark the brand.
Right.
Your
You know,
thoughts around that?
it's so surprising, but I understand, because if no one's ever learned this, how would you ever know? If you
Right.
go and buy your domain name from a domain service, domain website service, and you think you have the name, then you're going to feel sort of a false sense of security that you own that brand. But really, all that you own is the URL. Okay. You just own that URL. Like, mine's lisafraley.com, but what if I just had legalcoach.com or something like that? You own that, but that's it. You don't own the name. So like for me, I wanted to register legal coach and holistic lawyer as trademarks because it was important for me to make that my identity and to have that be connected to my brand. Because if you just own a URL, that's it. You can sell the URL. You can buy a different URL. Someone else could create a similar URL, but you don't really have any protection. And Leslie, the same is true with like an LLC or S corp name. This is another question that's kind of related. People say, well, if my LLC is called the New Beautiful You LLC, like I mentioned before, then don't I own that name? And the answer to that is you do in your state, basically. When you have an LLC or S corp, it's registered with your state where your business is based, which means that usually no other business in that state can have the same or exact name. Sometimes they can have similar names, but no one can have the exact name. But in the next state over, someone could have a business with that name because LLCs and S corps are registered on a state by state basis. So the trademarking we talked about, the federal registered trademark, is done at the national level so that you own the brand name across the nation for purposes of goods and services. So you can't necessarily stop other people with a similar LLC name in a different state, but you could potentially stop them if they're selling a good or service that's very similar to yours, or in the same trademark class, as we call it, or with a similar description, as we call it in the trademark application. You could stop them, as we say, cease and desist, stop them from using it in the marketplace.
Okay. All right. So
look at all the things we're learning about trademarks.
Yeah, who would have
I do love talking about it though, because it's so important. It's like a crowning achievement for a business owner to actually own their own brand and use the names. It's quite an accomplishment. And when you're established enough to come up with something that you really love and that you can create financial value around, that's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. It's a really something to be really proud of, but also you're creating an asset for your business. And that's what we're doing all this work for, is to be able to have a lucrative business with brand recognition that people think of us in the market.
Right. So I'm really curious, where does someone start? You know, what is let's talk a little bit about the process, because, it sounds a little overwhelming, but I'm sure you've got some easy tips.
No, it's not easy. Trademarking is one of those things, Leslie. You and I have talked about the fact that I have over 47 do-it-yourself legal templates for all kinds of things related to law, disclaimers and contracts and website documents and working with affiliates and partners, and so many legal templates that you can do on your own. But the thing is with trademarking, this is an area I actually recommend that people get legal help with. And the reason for that is because it's more complicated than it seems. It's not necessarily that the process itself, step by step, is difficult. It's the nuances. So if this tells you anything, I've done over 70 successful trademarks over the past several years. And I've been a lawyer for 25 years and done online work with entrepreneurs and registered dietitians and holistic practitioners for 10 years. And I have a trademark partner who's done this for his entire career, who works with me on trademark applications and trademark defense, because this is what he does for a living all day, every day for 20 years, 30 years. So if that tells you anything, people will try to do it on their own. And I love the intention. People feel like they're saving money. They feel like it's really easy just to get it. But the thing is, what happens when you do it on your own is that you are often leaving gaps that you don't know that you're leaving for people to slide in the back door and have a similar trademark, because your definition wasn't broad enough. It wasn't in the right class. It wasn't quite created in a way to help keep people out, really, as much as it's written to help you get your trademark granted. So the first step is always to have a trademark search done by a lawyer who's going to look at brands and trademarks out in the marketplace that have been granted by the USPTO. And here's the key, Leslie, it's from the perspective of the USPTO. It's a legal analysis to see whether or not a brand would be considered the same or substantially the same, or in law, we say confusingly similar to another brand in the marketplace, but based on how the USPTO will see it, not how we would see it just as consumers, right? So I know people get very tempted to do their own, and people tell me all the time, Lisa, I got my trademark. And I'm like, congratulations. And like you might have just left yourself open without knowing it, even though your intentions were good. And I honor you for wanting to get a trademark, but please start with a trademark search with an attorney to help you. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Because if you're on the wrong track, the lawyer can help redirect you so that your trademark application, when you invest in it, won't necessarily be denied. And that's the goal. You want it to go through and pass, not be denied because it was too similar to an existing brand that you didn't know about because you didn't have a lawyer help you with the search who could have told you that before you invested in the application.
Okay, that's huge.
Isn't that interesting?
I would, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we've got a lot of pretty industrious.
Of course.
There, right? And
yes, well, that's why I have 47 DIY legal templates for all the industrious, beautiful coaches and dietitians out there in the world. But with things that are more nuanced than people think, I do think it's worth spending money. And that's the same is true, just like with everyone who's listening in their work, Leslie, right? We can all go online and read how to lose 5 pounds by next week, but is that really what's going on when they need to actually dive in and find out what's going on in their gut or their intestinal flora, or to figure out what's happening? It's not as simple as it might appear.
Great analogy. Yeah. Like there's a lot of information, but it doesn't mean you're going to be successful at doing it.
Correct. That's right. But I'm very clear about wanting people to know when to save money, when to use templates, and then when it is worth taking the time and the energy and the money to invest in a lawyer to help you. And trademarks and LLCs and S Corps, if you've never had one before, those are the two main areas I tell people work with an attorney. If you've had an LLC or S Corp in the past, you can probably do it yourself the next time around. But the first time, you just need to make sure you're setting it up correctly. So anyway, for whatever that's worth, I just thought I'd offer that legal tip too.
And incidentally, Lisa helped me set mine up, which was great.
And Lisa's a pretty sophisticated business owner. Now she's also busy. So she just, had me help her because she's a busy gal, but she's very sophisticated and has had several businesses, obviously. Yeah. But she did have a lawyer help her with her LLC, and that I was honored and happy to be able to help you. So thank you, Leslie.
Great. Yeah, super helpful. I was happy about that. Well, let's talk just a little bit about how does this prevent people from stealing your content? At the end of the day, how does that work?
That, I think, is one of our biggest fears as online entrepreneurs or dietitians or coaches, is that you've done all this work, you put all of this love into your brand, and someone comes along and takes it. And it can feel so heartbreaking and violating and just really sad and frustrating. And, people talk about like they shake and their stomach gets tight and they might get teary. Like it feels really scary. And it's not a comfortable thing to have happen. So of course, I'm always encouraging people to come up with their own unique brands, their own unique titles for things, their own unique business names and taglines and things like that. But there are times when people do swipe or take your work. Sometimes they do it without actually realizing it. Like they maybe were inspired by your website and they copied and pasted something into their own document, and they came back 3 weeks later and forgot they didn't actually write that you had written that, and then they use it on their webpage, and you're thinking, how could they do that? So sometimes people really innocently copy stuff. Other times people copy it in a way that's not very loving. That's just, I'm going to take this and use it and come after me if you want, right? Which is not great. Fortunately, those are fewer and farther between, but it happens all the time, unfortunately. So what we always say in the law is that we can't stop people specifically from doing certain things, right? Like in the United States, like many Western countries around the world, people are free to file lawsuits. People are free to file a lawsuit in court. It doesn't mean it has standing. It doesn't mean it has a good argument. It doesn't mean they're going to win. It doesn't mean it has a legitimate basis. But people are free to go to their court and file something. Well, the same is true with copying. Like, people are free to copy stuff. Should they? No, it's not legal. It might be violating copyright laws. You can be violating people's trademarks. It's unethical. I think on the energetic side, it's really bad juju, and it will come around to you at some point. Like, I just don't think it's good to do. So what you can do is try to help protect yourself on the front end. And that's by having the trademark that presumes you're the rightful owner, which I believe also creates an energetic barrier because you've claimed your brand. You're standing behind it. You've energetically claimed it. You've legally registered it. And you're able to say, this is my brand that you cannot use unless I give you permission to use it. So the legal front and the energetic front, I think, combined together allow you to stand more strongly and I believe send out energy in the world that makes people less likely to copy your work. It still can happen, but it gives you a better defense, and I think it gives you a better offense too.
Okay. If you have a few moments, it looks like we have just a few questions and comments.
Great.
We have Karen. Hey, Karen.
Oh, hi, Karen.
Glad you could join us today. And then Karen, let's see, if I made my logo from an open clip art image and a Canva image put together with my own font, can I trademark it?
Great question. Thank you for that specific question, Karen. That's really helpful to work with. So, okay, when it comes to like images, the first thing that I'll tell everyone is that you always want to purchase an image that you can use, or you want to take an image or create an image yourself. So if you're using clip art, I would recommend that you only use it from stock photo websites where you're actually paying a fee. It's usually $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 to be able to use that image in your logo. Okay. You don't want to be going out to like Google and just clicking, show me an image of a tree, and then just copy any image of a tree and put it in your logo. Even if you make it prettier or you add elements to it, the original creator of that particular tree could come after you legally because you have now taken their work, perhaps not intentionally to be unkind or, but you've used their work without their permission, where they didn't give you permission to use it for a logo in your business that's going to make you money off of their work. So I highly recommend using stock image websites like Big Stock, or there's a million of them, Leslie, you might know some other ones, Big Stock Image or whatever. You can go online. There's a gazillion of them, and just pay a small fee. You can also go in Canva and use the ones in Canva where you can pay a fee, or use the ones that are free that they allow you to use. But in all image purchases for your logo, please, please, please read the fine print, because some stock images cannot be used for commercial or business purposes. They can only be used for personal purposes, like creating an invitation to a birthday party or something. They can't be used for your business logo. So read the fine print, but a lot of them, they are. That's what they're there for. You're basically buying a license to use that image to put it into your logo. So I love the Canva part that you did, Karen, but the open clip art image, you may be allowed to use that, but definitely check and see if you're purchasing the rights to use it. If you just found it online somewhere random, I would actually edit your logo and make it something different, or go to the creator of the tree, for example, and ask permission to use it so that no one comes after you later. But thank you for asking. That is great question.
And just want to shout out to Gina. Hey, Gina. So it looks like Gina is ready to get the ball rolling. So, and then Karen was kind enough to share Lisa's website. So
support the community, Leslie, of course.
Incredible. I have the best clients.
Thank you.
So lisafraley.com is where you can go. Let's see here. So Karen's got lots of questions.
I love it.
So Karen has a business. She started in 2003. Since then, I've seen other use it. Oh, a business name.
Okay.
And she just Googled and saw that someone filed a trademark application for a business name. What should I do?
Ooh, good question. Okay. So when it comes to trademarks and ownership of a business name, it always goes back to who can prove they were using it first. Okay. So Karen, if you have proof somehow that you were using it in 2003, like a screenshot from a website with a date on it showing that it was from 2003, or maybe you have an email and it was in your footer of your email, that you can show the date. Like if you can come up with evidence, several pieces are better than just one, showing you were using it, you have some options. One is that if the trademark is already granted, you actually can file a document to either allow your name to be continued to use at the same time, or you potentially could even help to revoke that trademark owned by the other person. If the trademark process is still in process, the application is still in process, there's a period of time where there's like a month, it's called the opposition period, where anyone can come forward and say, I have a conflict with this potential trademark that you're trying to trademark over here, and I'm going to file paperwork to say you need to stop using it. And I always liken that, Leslie, to a wedding when back in the day when they used to say, if anyone objects to this couple getting married, please speak now or forever hold your peace, right? It's that 1 month period where you get to speak now and participate in the process. So part of it, Karen, will be, where is it in the trademark application process? It sounds like someone has filed it, but I can't tell just from your question if it's already granted by the USPTO or if it's still in the long process. And by the way, all trademarks can take a long time right now. COVID has made everything slower. It can take up, we used to say 8 to 14 months, but now it's more like 12 to 16 months.
Wow.
So if you're thinking of something, it's better to do it sooner. And what that means is that you get some protection, which means that anyone else who files with a similar name after you has to wait until yours is decided. So you have priority for the decision before anyone else. But anyway, I hope that information is helpful, Karen, to you.
Great question. So let's see, how soon should you get your business name trademarked after launching?
Okay, great question. So one of the things that I recommend to business owners, if you're newer at using a brand, is actually just to start by doing the search, the trademark search with the lawyer, because one of the things I do when I work with my clients is help them to look up the trademark name now before you've gone and built your whole business with that brand to make sure you're not violating anyone else's registered trademark. So at the very beginning, it can be helpful to have a trademark search done to make sure. In fact, just yesterday, I was working with a client who has already created her videos and already created her program and already created all of her stuff. And she was ready to trademark, and she came to me and we realized that it was extremely similar to a name that's already been trademarked. And I didn't want to break her heart, but I had to tell her that I did not think that if she filed a trademark application, it would be granted. And then I gave her some other suggestions and tried to help her work around that. And now she's made peace with it. She was very upset, not at me, but at the fact there was a trademark, very upset, made peace with it. And now she's coming back and we're doing a different name for her. And she's even more thrilled about that name. So start with search. And then later, once you build out the brand, it might be a better time to do the application. But some people want to do the application right away. It's really up to you, but at least start with the search.
Okay, that's great. So, hey, Amy, we covered this a little bit in the beginning. How about if I take a stab at this, Lisa?
Sure.
All right,
I'm
an attorney, guys. So based on what we talked about, my takeaway, and Lisa, you let me know if I'm on or off base here. So a trademark is something you use for like something short, like a title, your business name, your logo, something like that. Maybe even the title of a program, right?
Right.
Your program.
That's right.
A copyright is usually it's bigger, right? It's like a book or a poem or,
or songs or movies or videos or audios. Yeah, that's right, Leslie. You got it.
All right. So
way to go.
All right. So let's see if we got any more. So Karen, I have a newspaper story done on me with a photo. Yay.
Wow, that's great.
Good deal. All right. So great questions, everybody. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So as we begin to wrap up for today, Lisa, do you have any kind of parting words of wisdom?
Yes. So y'all, one of the questions that I get all the time is that people say, I'm newer, or I'm really not sure if I should be trademarking something. And really the question they're saying to me is, who am I to own my brand? Like, who am I to own a brand? Not who am I to help people in the world. We're good with that. But like, who am I to actually, it can feel very significant, I think, sometimes. And it can feel scary. I've had several clients say to me, like, it feels like I'm putting a stake in the ground and claiming it. And it is a claiming, and that's a good thing. We want you to claim your brand. If you have your unique brand, it really represents you. You're passionate about it. It has a lot of potential. It has a lot of profit that is or will be connected to it. You have the right to own your brand. And I always say that lovingly. Like, you have a right, just like everyone else has a right to own their brand, to protect it, to honor the work that you're doing, to really give yourself an asset for your business. So please start with at least the trademark search. If you know in your bones that it really feels like this is a brand that represents who you are and the work that you do on the planet, start with the search, and then we can go from there. But please don't be timid or shy or think, who am I to do this? And why do I don't feel like I'm wearing, this is a crowning achievement. I don't feel like I'm wearing the crown of my business just yet, as I like to say. But you very well may be, and have something that you worked hard for. So I would just encourage people not to shy away, not to think that they're not ready for it, or just start the process and see what happens. And hopefully you'll feel a clear conscience knowing you're not violating someone else's brand, and you'll feel poised to know whether it's the right time to trademark your brand.
Love that. Yeah, we do have that tendency sometimes, right? To think, well, it's for other people, not me.
Right.
Like,
Or I'm not far enough along, or my brand isn't recognized enough, or I'm not Starbucks. I'm not some huge brand. I'm just a small, business owner working in my home office. And, but it is for you. It is for you. You are allowed to do this in a really loving way to support your business and to create a financial asset for your brand and to protect your brand recognition and to honor all the work that you're doing. So I hold that vision for you and want that for you. And I'm happy to help. If you have any questions about the trademark search or the application, I'm happy to help in any way I can.
yeah, so let's wrap up by just talking a little bit about your legal templates, right? So on the screen, guys, you can see I've added a bit.ly link, and it's Lisa Legal Templates. Lisa Legal Templates, all lowercase. Yeah, and I think Lisa could connect the dots a little bit better than I can in terms of how that correlates with our conversation today.
Yeah.
I can say that I myself have purchased her legal templates, and they're really awesome. So,
Oh, thank you, Leslie.
yeah, yeah.
Nice
So
to
if
say.
you're looking for kind of a DIY approach to your legal templates, highly recommend. But in terms of the topic that we spoke about today,
Yeah.
how will the legal templates be helpful?
Sure. So the DIY, there's 47 different do-it-yourself legal templates, totally designed for holistic health and life practitioners, coaches, licensed practitioners. There are different forms for different things, but there's one in particular that might be helpful if you want to dive deeper than the conversation we've had today. There's one that's called DIY. Do I know if how do I know if it's trademark worthy? Okay. It's in the purple section aligned with the crown chakra, like I talked about being a crowning achievement. You'll see it there on Leslie's link. And what it will do is walk you through a series of questions that you can see if your brand name or your logo is going to be something you should trademark. So if you want to go deeper and really dive into your own ideas of what you might want to trademark, that will help you do that. And you can access that through Leslie's link there. Leslie's an affiliate, and I'm very grateful for that. We do want to disclose that to you, but just know that I've worked with Leslie and really tried to take good care of her, and lots and lots and lots of holistic health coaches and life coaches and registered dietitians and physicians and all sorts of people in the online space related to health and wellness. And so if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out, but that can take you a little bit deeper than what we were able to cover today.
Great. Okay. All right, guys. So I think it is time flies, right?
It does. Always does.
Nice.
At least for me, because I like talking about the law. I know. But hopefully this made it easy for people to understand. And Leslie, you are always asking great questions. And people who participated, Karen and others, thank you so much. Those were great questions that you offered. And I think it makes it more real when we have real questions to work with. So thank you for that.
Thanks, everybody. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. And we will see you next week. Thanks again, Lisa. This was really awesome.
Thank you, Leslie. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone. Bye.